Welcome back to our edpm class. Today we're going to continue discussing using punctuation mark while typing. We're going to focus on the full stop, the exclamation mark, and the question mark. So let's get into today's topic with the full stop or the period. So we're going to start off by discussing the full stop and the period. So what is the purpose of a full stop? It is used at the end of a sentence and is also used after an initial or to abbreviate a word. A sentence is a group of words that makes complete sense. And after we have write or type those words that make complete sense, we end off that sentence by placing a full stop behind those group of words to show that this group of words make complete sense and the sentence end at that point we replace the full stop. It is also used to create initials and to abbreviate words. We should take note whilst using the full stop or when typing using the full stop that we should leave two spaces at the end of a sentence before starting a new one. So once we have placed our full stop at the end of a sentence, before we continue typing, I know I'm guilty of this, that I normally just skip one space and continue typing a new sentence. But the correct way to type after placing a full stop is skipping two character spaces before starting a new sentence. So we need to remember that, because in multiple choice question for your edpm exam, they might bring a question how many spaces you need to skip after typing a full stop, and you need to know that you need to skip two spaces after your full stop before you start typing a new sentence. Also, you need to skip one space after typing initial, and no spaces are needed when you are using the full stop in an abbreviation. So two spaces after a sentence, one space after an initial, and no spaces when you're using an abbreviation. So let's get into examples of using the full stop. Here is a sentence. Let's read what it's saying. There are 3 pens on the teacher's desk. They belong to the teacher. In this group of words here, there are 2 sentences here. The first sentence saying that there are 3 pens on the teacher's desk, full stop. And then the second sentence saying that they belong to the teacher. So the first sentence, it makes those group of words make complete sense. The person reading that sentence can understand what the group of word is saying. The group of word is saying that there are 3 pens on the desk, teacher's desk. So because we can understand what the writer is saying, we place a full stop at the end of those group of words. That is called a sentence. And then the second group of words, they belong to the teacher. We can understand what those group of words are saying there as well. So that's another sentence. So we place a full stop at the end of those group of words. And you have noticed that there is space between the first full stop and the second sentence. We had to remember we have to skip 2 character spaces before we continue typing our second sentence. Let's move on to example using an initial. The first example at the top there, O.M. Brown, is an example of using an initial. And if you notice there are full stop at the end of O, and there's a space, and then M, full stop, and then there's a space again before the word Brown. So when you're using full stop to type initials, we place a space after the full stop, one space after the full stop. And the one at the bottom there is an example of an abbreviation, RSVP. We normally see RSVP at the end of invitation for us to reply if we're going to attend an invited event or not. And you notice here that when they use the full stop there to separate the letters, they didn't place any spaces between the full stop. So we type 2 spaces after a sentence, one space after initial, and no spaces after using full stop in an abbreviation. So let's continue our lesson. We're going to look at the exclamation mark next. Now, what is the purpose of an exclamation mark? It is used to express intense emotion such as excitement or a declaration. We need to leave two spaces after the exclamation mark before we start typing a new sentence. So just as the full stop, we need to leave two spaces after typing an exclamation mark before we start a new sentence. And an exclamation mark is used to express strong emotions such as excitement, you're scared, or to make a declaration. So let's look at the example here. We have the sentence here, wow, it is beautiful. And you notice that there's an exclamation mark behind the word wow. This is so because the person who is saying this is probably excited or expressing some strong emotion to whatever they're seeing and saying that it is beautiful. I have noticed that there are two spaces between the exclamation mark and the new sentence. It is beautiful. So we need to remember exclamation mark is used to express strong emotions, and before typing a new sentence, after we have typed the exclamation mark, we need to leave two spaces. Finally, for today's lesson, we're going to talk about the question mark. Now, what does the question mark do, or what is the purpose of a question mark? It is used to be placed at the end of a question. That's basically what a question mark is used for. To state what a question is, or to identify when a question is being asked. And just like the full stop or the exclamation mark, we need to leave two spaces after we have typed a question mark before we start a new sentence. So let's look at the example. Where do you live? And that is a question, and to show that this is a question, we place a question mark behind that sentence. What is your name? That is also a question. The person is finding out something, and to show that that is a question, we use a question mark to be placed at the end of those group of words or that sentence there. Now, this brings us to the end of today's lesson. I hope that you guys have learned something today. You feel free to look at the video again, do your own research, and keep learning. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next class.